Hello, thinkers. Welcome to the second episode of the Ponderlings Podcast. I'm your host, Josh, and joining me today is Mallory.
Hi.
So today our discussion is going to be around the nature versus nurture debate. We chose this because in our psych program we would talk about this debate pretty often.
Pretty frequently, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a big thing. And I think anybody who's taken a psych course, it's pretty frequently discussed, even in your basic intro, like Psych 101. So anybody who's taken a psych course probably is somewhat familiar with it. But if you need a refresher, it's pretty much, the big question, why are we the way that we are? Nature versus nurture is, are we the way that we are because of how we were raised in the environment and socioeconomic status that we were raised in and who we were raised by? Or is it, because of something genetically or biologically within us? And I think Josh was doing some, research this week because, our research was obviously from school, which was a few years ago. So he did some research and there's what is it? Modern?
Yeah, so I just do a quick one. I didn't do anything too intensive, but I went to Psychology Today and they have an article about nature versus nurture, and I'll leave a link to that and cite it here in the description. But and it has multiple rabbit trails you can take into the subject. But basically, they were talking about how that terminology can be confusing, and I thought so too. I always thought nature was
environment.
Yeah, and then
which is what you typically think of when you
hear
nature.
And nurture, I thought was the people that take care of you, but in reality, that is.
Those are
the same one. They're both in nature.
Argument.
So they coined a new phrase, genetics versus environment, to make it to where you don't have
Which
to.
Is pretty self-explanatory.
So that way it's like, okay,
less
am
confusing.
I the way I am because do I choose this lifestyle and everything because of the genes that were in me when I was born, or is it because of my parents raising me in the environment that I was in? And then in the beginning, a lot of psychologists and scientists believed that it was the environment side that our experiences molded what happened, and that John Locke coined the term tabula rasa, which is like a blank slate and anyone can, I guess, become anything really.
Yeah, so he was basically believed that we were all born like tabula rasa means blank slate. And that anything that happened afterwards, so basically it's all nurture is what he believed. That who we become is shaped purely by what situations and what people are close to us, what, socioeconomic status, all of that. That's what makes us who we are because we were born as that blank slate. However, I think most psychologists today can agree that it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of the take that I have too.
Yeah, same.
Because, thinking a little bit about myself personally, we talk a lot about in psychology too about type A and type B.
Yeah.
Type A personality, type B personality. Type A personality tends to be a little bit more organizationally minded and detail oriented and very, I don't want to say anal retentive, but kind of. Yeah. And I don't mean that in negative terms at all, because that is who I am and I love myself. So there you go. But and then
in a healthy way.
Yeah.
It's not conceited or prideful.
I love myself.
Yeah. I'm the best.
Bow down. No. But and then type B personality is a little bit more go with the flow, easygoing, and you definitely need both personalities in the world. And there are some people who are pretty good mix of both. But I it when I was growing up. That was what I hated about myself, was that I was type A. And, I always wondered, because I grew up with a type A parent and a type B parent, that is it because of them? Is it because, because of that type A parent? Or is it because I am, genetically predispositioned to be this way?
Yeah.
And, now that I've studied it and lived a little bit more than 16 years.
Yeah.
I have kind of convinced myself and kind of come to terms with the fact that it's probably a little bit of both. Because I think even as a young child I was pretty anxious. So and pretty, anal retentive.
Yeah.
So,
but it is that thing where it's like you just never know. You can find both sides, like, oh, I'm this way because my parents really said to do this, or my guardians or whoever. They're like, oh, I don't want you, because I'm trying to think of an example.
Yeah. Like the people who had the biggest say in how you were raised. And
Yeah.
But, one of the things that I thought about, and we talked a little bit about this week, was that study done on twins.
Yeah.
And, there's like a documentary. We'll have to find it, and if we find it, we can post the link to you guys. Some of you may already know what.
You may have seen it already.
Yeah, you may have seen it already.
Old news.
Yeah, but they, did a study on these two twins who were adopted at birth, and, they were obviously raised in two separate families, and they came back all these years later and did a study on what was similar, what was different, and they had a lot of similarities, but they were obviously, their nurturing was very different. And so that kind of proved that obviously their nature, their genetics played a part in who they were. It's pretty interesting. If you have time, I highly, recommend you watch it. But it's interesting to think about, why you are the way that you are.
Yeah.
Is it because you were predispositioned to be so?
Yeah.
Or is it, all these factors that, socioeconomic status,
right,
parents, friends, even, situations, things like that.
Yeah, I always wonder, because I know OCD is a big thing in my family, especially on my dad's side. Like, my grandma definitely has it. Her house is so cool. The only thing that would rival it is probably a hospital or maybe a museum. Like, it is spotless.
Yeah.
It's insane. And I wish I had that kind of, I bet you wish I had that too. 'Cause I'm a very messy person, but it's just crazy to see it manifest in that way. And then my dad also has some OCD tendencies, and then I have OCD as well. And but I always wonder, it's like, okay, then that must obviously be genetics. But then part of me also wonders if, okay, but because if they have those tendencies and they try to instill that in me, like, did they, from just being raised that way and they're seeing that, did that impact me too? And is it like this both thing, or is it one? Because I haven't had like a genetic test done to verify that it's like, oh yeah, genetically this person has XYZ. So it could be that thing where it's like it has to like a both kind of thing. But it's just interesting to think about that kind of situation and how it works. But as far as like a discussion goes for this topic, I was, as I was doing the research and thinking, I was like, okay, well, how, because the twin studies and everything is the way they would test it, but at the same time, it's like, how do you control everything and do all that stuff to make it, as accurate as possible?
Right. Well, and it's not like they were following these boys around, I don't think. Right?
Yeah.
And so, like, they don't
sure
know
they've done
every
boys
single...
and they've done girls and they've done...
Yeah. But I'm talking about, like, that specific...
That specific one.
Yeah. I don't think they, like, were following them around as they grew up, so there's not, like, any way they could have seen every single situation and every single thing that these boys went through, or, what was taught to them, everything like that.
And they can't control, like, the friends, because that skews data, too. Just that, because you can't really control a person, like, not having the exact same, and then just changing one thing to change to measure the variables and everything.
Well, that was a big thing too that they studied, like, who had the most influence in your life, and like as your children, it's your parents, and then in your adolescence, it's your friends. And so obviously the person who plays the biggest part in your life is going to have the most influence. Right. So that's either your parents, your friends, or your guardians, whoever it may be.
Yeah. And it got me thinking, it was like, is it even possible? Because I was thinking...
To study.
Yeah, because if you'd have to basically have this kid at birth, right out the womb, shove him in a room with nothing. Like white walls.
Control every single aspect
and that's just not possible. Traumatizing. Could you imagine? Yeah,
you wouldn't even be studying a person. You'd be studying...
And I was thinking, like, okay, well... Because they've done studies too. I can't remember now on it was chimps or some other form of like ape or monkey, but where the mother was absent, like it's not there, and so they would feed it and nurture it, do all that stuff that it needs to survive, but they found that they really needed like that contact.
Yeah, so basically they were giving it like minimal, like food, water, necessities, not like comfort. Is that what you're talking about?
They were giving it. They weren't abusing the animal in any way. They were giving it what it needed, but they, like, instead of just giving it like let's say this metal thing was holding the bottle or something for them, like they found that if they put a sock.
Oh, I think I remember that where they had. I think they also had the chimp chews too, right?
Yeah.
They opened up a door and there was like the metal thing holding the bottle and then the soft thing holding the bottle, and obviously they went for the.
So it's like programmed in us too to not live in that kind of an situation, but it just makes you wonder to this day, am I choosing the decisions I make? Is it because the genes within me have me predestined, I guess, to make this outcome because it's just in my, like, the OCD makes me want to constantly think about this thing and then avoid this conflict or whatever because I overanalyze it or something? Or is it because of the way I was raised, in a sense, like, okay, hey, you got to do X, Y, Z, and it's just crazy to me to wonder. It's like, okay, do I have free will at all? Yeah. And now it's like going from a whole different discussion here, but
like different.
Because is it determined? And I found it interesting.
But that's interesting too, because so many of these topics stem from this nature versus nurture debate.
Right, and everything kind of comes back together. Like one question can go on to other questions, and then they all
lead you back to the same question that you started with. Yeah.
Because when I was doing the research, they talked about biological determinism, and that's basically the notion, like I said, where everything that happens is determined based on your genes. Like you have no. Yeah. But like we have to have free will. If we don't have free will, our society doesn't work. You can't punish someone for something they have no control over.
Well, what's the point?
Right.
If there's no free will, like.
And then it's like, would religion even be a thing at that point? Because it's like, if you don't have any. And I mean, some people don't believe in religion anyway, but. Right. There's so many things that we have established that couldn't be possible if you didn't have a choice to do it. So. Yeah. It's just.
Well, it's like, some people think, why do we do this anyways? But, like, why do we have elections where we can vote if there's no free will?
True, yeah.
Like.
So, kind of got on a little bit of a bunny trail there, yeah. But it did make me think while we were on that, like, tangent about free will and determinism, for the nature versus nurture side of things, if you had the choice of, okay, I just want it to be based on my genetics, or I just want it to be based on how I was nurtured, like, which one would you choose? And do you think that having that choice could, I guess, allow you to become the person you want to be, or the what you strive to be?
Yeah, like that person that you have when you're like self-actualized or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know, because I kind of do firmly believe that a part of who I am is who I was, how I was raised, where I was raised, who I was raised by, everything like, on the nurture side of it. But I also do think that I am genetically predispositioned for things. And the truth is, like, I hated that stuff when I was younger, because I think I am kind of predispositioned to be kind of an anxious person. And I did not like that when I was younger. I hated that about myself and wanted to be more go with the flow and everything like that. But now I can see it in a light that is positive. Not saying that, oh, I love that I'm anxious. You
see the strengths of it.
But I see the strengths, and I can kind of work it in a way that works in my favor. I think because I am anxious, it makes me aware of other people's feelings around me. And I think because I am anxious, like, I've gotten, you know, that's why I think I did so well in school, is because I was kind of anxious about it, you know?
Right, yeah. You're afraid of the outcome of not succeeding.
Yeah, so honestly, I really can't, you know, if I had to choose one or the other, is it, you know, who you are is based purely off of nurture or nature.
Yeah.
I think maybe I would choose nurture because what little coping skills I do have for who I am predispositioned to be by my genetics or biology or whatever, I have got from therapy and from those around me and from my parents and from you and from my friends, the people I was nurtured by.
Right.
So...
And the environment that you brought up.
Yeah, and so it's like if I didn't have both of those things playing together and I just had this nature part of me, I don't think I would be a successful human being.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It comes down to... Because it's interesting, if we had never discovered that we had genes or anything, we would continue to have this, it's all
situational.
Because you can't see that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, without the science to back it up and without... And it does make you wonder, okay, what is the strength behind being able to identify, okay, this gene does this? And if we could do that, do you think people would then be like, well, like you said, I wasn't a fan of being anxious, to where you could just get rid of it.
To change it, get rid of it.
And then it's like, are you really even human at that point?
Yeah.
Because, like, don't get me wrong, you used to be human, and I've read books about, you know, CRISPR and, like, the
fiction
genetic...
Books?
No, like, we're on a path towards, like, being able to genetically create...
Or whatever?
Not perfect. It's still based on the genes that the...
It's super interesting to me.
Right, it is interesting.
To, like, pick and be like, I want my kid to have this gene.
Yeah, it's a super good book. I can't remember now what it's called, but we'll probably talk about it on this at some point because it's super cool. But
I did not know that was a
and
it's that really
we get closer and closer every time.
Unsettles me.
Yeah, and they even talk about like all the implications behind it. And, but again, that's for another topic.
Yeah.
But because you know what makes us human, I think, is the fact that we aren't perfect and that we have to. Because at that point, what happens is like pretty much the evolution of our species. In a sense, you know, like, because even before there were multiple forms of Homo sapiens or whatever, like, they were called something else, that's our scientific name, but I can't remember now, but, like, Neanderthal, and then we
Cavemen.
Right, and we got rid of each other, like, we came into this, and eventually if we got to the point where we just did the genetic side of things, you know, you'd have to be something else, and then some people are like, oh, well, we'll just become machines because our flesh hinders us, it's holding us back. And there's a lot of people out there who are thinking, okay, it's time to do that next step in evolution. And that was kind of a tangent too, off topic. But it just makes
it come... a lot, though. I didn't even know about this stuff.
It just...
I need to read more.
Oh. I mean, I think reading's important and good for everyone. And one of the reasons why, and I'm going to do a plug here, why I do the Books to Ponder on the channel too, but...
you asked me to listen to your Beowulf one, and
you haven't done it yet.
I haven't done it because I don't know Beowulf.
That's
do you like do a synopsis?
I do. Yeah, I do a little bit, but
I'll listen to it on my way to work tomorrow.
Okay, but yeah, so that's really all we have planned for the discussion today. We'd love to hear what you think about the nature versus nurture or genetic versus environment, and just what you think as far as the future of that, or if you can pinpoint, be like, oh yeah, like my genes cause, you know, this to happen, and I
or
react
like what
this
you
way.
think
I
plays
react
the biggest
opposite.
Part in your life. You know? Because it may be different from person to person. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Very interesting, and we would love to talk about it with you. So if you know. Yeah,
and also feel free to let us know what you want us to talk about.
Yeah.
So if there's anything that you, like some topic or something you heard today that we kind of referenced, and let us know too if maybe you want longer videos, shorter videos, because we could do, you know,
I feel like 20 to 25 minutes is
Yeah, a
Perfect.
good thing. And
But,
we're still figuring
yeah.
this out. We're
Mhm.
gonna try different things, and
So bear with us.
yeah, but
And thank you for listening.
yes, thank you, and do the whole like, subscribe, share
Like,
thing.
Subscribe.
Right. But yeah, that's all we have.
Yeah.
Never stop pondering, and enjoy your week. See ya.
Bye.